Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for stopping by today to join us while we launch our brand new Lumecon Detroit Series area lights. We're very excited that you're here with us today and that we're able to present to you our definitely our shining star of our lineup, and we're going to show you why we believe that here today. Today with me is Michael Woznicki, project engineer from Lumecon. Hello, Michael.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for taking the time to join us today.
And my name is Bob Hahn, I'm president of Lumecon, and with no further ado, we'll get going. So the first thing that we'd like to talk about is that about 3.5 years ago or so, we started to decide that we wanted to brand our own image. In many cases, a lot of manufacturers don't make anything. They're just rebadging and re-importing OEM product from abroad. Others are using others' housings and then maybe putting their own stuff inside. And we were doing a lot of that. And then we wanted to take it to the next level and design our own housings, our own line, and bring forth the Detroit series. So we started off with a company called Sundberg Farrar. They're out of Walled Lake, Michigan. They're an excellent product development company. They've been around for over 100 years. They were involved in the Dyson vacuum design and many other products that you're very familiar with today. They're also involved in automotive design as well. So we set out to try to make a Detroit identity. And why is that? Well, most of us are from the Detroit area or from the city itself, and we're very proud to say that we are. The last 10 years, there's been a real renaissance in downtown Detroit and the adjacent areas that have really seen Detroit bounce back. Not only the economy, but the resurrection of some beautiful buildings, the renovation and brand new buildings. There's cranes in the air, and there's just a lot happening in the Detroit metropolitan area, or especially specifically the city of Detroit. So we're proud of it, and so we wanted to represent that in our lineup. So a little bit of history about the city of Detroit is that it's designed after Paris, and that is that it's in a wagon wheel format, so that every major road leads down to the very center of the downtown area, which is on the Detroit River, right across from Windsor, Ontario. And we also wanted to be like Paris and be the city of lights. And so, as you can see from this photograph in 1930s, the city is extremely well lit. Most of the buildings are designed by Albert Kahn, a Gothic design architect from Detroit. And so they're very historical, beautiful buildings downtown that are all now being brought back to life, both outside and inside, also with uplight, and the streets being relit with LED has really brought the city back to life again. So starting off with, who are we in Detroit? Well, we're not unlike a lot of cities, and that is we have a lot of grit and determination, hustle, and a lot of pride in where we come from. And obviously this is a fist of Joe Louis, who is a Detroit son, and this resides in downtown Detroit, this sculpture, to remind everybody that Joe Louis was a big part of putting the stamp on the city of Detroit. So we also wanted to incorporate the spirit of Detroit, and this sculpture downtown sits right outside of Town Hall, or I'm sorry, City Hall, and it is called the Spirit of Detroit. And it's very poignant today, showing that, equality is important and really second to none. So we wanted to focus on Detroit's spirit as well as its toughness, grittiness. And you can see here that we've modeled a lot of stuff after the automotive industry as well. This mural that is the Detroit Institute of Arts really says it all, and that is that you've got people of all backgrounds working together, sleeves rolled up, gritty, working hard, along with engineering as their basis. And that's how we feel about Lumecon, is that we roll up our sleeves. We're all engineers at heart. and even more so than our sales department. And, we really want to build the most robust, best fixture that's on the market today. So even though, the city sidewalk might have a little tarnish on it and everything else, we do clean up pretty nicely. And, we believe that with a little spit and polish, the city of Detroit is really it's coming into its own, and we wanted to represent that in our line. So bringing that all together, all the design cues that we see around us here in Detroit. So again, Joe Lewis's powerfulness, GMC, Ford, Chrysler, they're not afraid to badge their vehicles. They want you to know who made it. They put it on not only on their grills, but they put it on their side badging. And, that's unlike a lot of other products, that where you've, especially in the lighting industry, many cases, it's very difficult to figure out who actually made it because there's no badging anywhere anymore these days. And so also we looked at the bone lines and design cues. You definitely know when an F-150 or Ram, Dodge Ram, or a Chevy Silverado pulls up behind you because they have a very distinctive hood, grille, lighting skew, as far as the headlights, and, it's very identifiable. So we wanted to bring all of those cues forward into our lineup. So you can see here some of our very first sketches that we did of our forward throw and our area light and a full cutoff wall pack. And it morphed into time to where we actually went to blueprint, and we were bringing out now our new area light. So with no further ado, we'll start right in on this one is the small area light from our Detroit series. And you can see that we put in heavy bone lines, a grill-like look for the heat sinking. We actually cast our name right into the top and the bottom. And it is a one-piece cast with a belly pan underneath it so that there's no moving parts, nothing's extruded and screwed together, no places really for leak points. And this is all done in Muskegon, Michigan. Looking underneath, you see here's the belly pan, and then we have our custom optics from Lidl that are screwed in on top of their LED boards to give you a type 2, 3, 4, or 5, or maybe a narrow and a flood option. And here's our small area light. Again, just a one-piece cast with a belly panel we'll talk about in a sec. So here's an underlying look at it, and we'll move to show you that we do, the lensing in our LEDs. We can handle anything from 2700K, 3000K, 4000K to 5000K. And like I said, all the different variations of light spread. Also here you see where we again casted our name into the bottom here, so you can see it from both the top and the bottom. So taking a look at the whole line, you see our large area light up here on top. You see our small area light right here. And then we have a full cutoff wall pack, which is very unique. It's the small area light, but you can see that we cut the back end off of it and it mounts on a wall bracket. And that gives you a really unique full cutoff that you can do type 2, 3, 4, 5 with it. You can do a narrow optic if you want to do something funky. And basically, you've got a lot of play that architects, specifiers, engineers can actually, say, hey, I got a full cutoff that I actually can design with now, not just something that dumps light. So we're excited about that as well. In fact, the lumen outputs and the spreads and everything else are exactly the same as the small area light. There's no difference between the two as far as that's concerned. And you can see comparing it to current fixtures that are out there today, that we are bringing a lot more style, sleekness, and, identifiability really to the Lumecon line. So taking a top-down look here, you see where the very top we molded in a place for a twist lock photocell and or a 7-pin receptacle. Breaking it apart, looking at it forward, again, you see the receptacle here, and this can be either a wireless control node or a photocell. And then below, you see here that we've got an occupancy sensor and then our gasketed LED array that goes on top of the LED boards. Now, these lenses are custom made by Lidl out of Finland, and they have a patented boring technique to create the type 2s, 3s, 4s, 5s, narrows, and so with a raceway in the middle, so that Michael is going to talk about here in a second, the differences in photometry layout between us and maybe some of our competitors. And you're going to see how really, what a great job these lenses do. So taking a look underneath, you see here a great cutout of just this whole is one piece cast, this whole thing here. And then there's the electrical section with a belly pan that goes on it. I'm going to start off here in that we're using a hot poured gasket into here. This is a technique that's actually pouring hot gasket into here and then it solidifies. And that's done at Rumpf. It's a German company right down the street. They're a tier 1 automotive supplier. And this is the same technique that's used for doors, trunks, hoods to keep water out. And number 2, have infinite number of openings and closings. And many other type of products, they use a die cut gasket here, which usually only gives you 1 or 2 compressions, meaning that once I've opened it up and then closed it again, it's already been compressed and it's not getting a seal anymore. And then you get leakage, water leakage, and of course that's a bad thing inside of electrical components that can short everything out. So here you're seeing our poured in gasket, which we think is a huge upgrade. And then the belly pan, and here's an aux sensor that pokes its way through. So only seeing just the screwed in bottom part and then a lens going on top of that. And this is here how it would look all assembled. So again, much like automotive, the less parts you screw together, the less squeaks, rattles, leak points that you're going to have in a product. And that's what we've effectively done here with the large and small area light and also the full cutoff Detroit series. We talked about the gasketing in the series. Here's where the gasket then goes. It is a single hot cast housing, like I already spoke about. There's an enlarged belly pan detail. So this whole belly here fits 280 watt drivers. This is a 40 kV surge suppression unit from Littelfuse. It's on the AC side. It's extreme rated so that when, if any kind of irregular voltage comes in and or a surge, it gets stopped in its tracks before it hits the driver or the LED array. So this is our little black box, if you will, inside all of our products are standard. There's no extra cost. And this is where you find that separates Lumecon from many other people who only have maybe 5 to 10 kV in their products. So it's self-containment for all internal control features too. So there's no exterior boxes holding the aux sensor or any other exterior boxes maybe to where to put the receptacle. It's all self-contained inside the one belly pan. You'll see here that we have 165 watt all the way to a 330 watt fixture. And the lumen output is from 26,000 lumens all the way up to 47,000 lumens, from 160 lumens per watt to 143 lumens a watt. Well, what does that mean in photometry? So Michael, why don't you take it over from here and go ahead and talk about a side-by-side here.
Sure thing, Bob. We have 2 rows of aggregate groups of luminaires. And at the top, we're looking at the new Detroit series area light. And at the bottom, we're putting that up against a DSX2, a very popular outdoor light. So you can see just with a quick glance, if we're doing a similar comparison, that we have a lot of distribution of the light that's very effective, what we've done with the optics all the way across. So for example, let's go over to the upper left corner. We're looking at the 165 watt in a type 3. We've got some back-to-back poles and an area covering roughly 450 feet. And you can see that not only is the light being pushed away from the pole in a forward direction, it also has a wide lateral distribution, and we get good coverage throughout the entire area. Whereas directly below that with the DSX2, it's much more tight as far as the distribution, and there are some dark areas in between. In the middle, we look at the similar type at 164 watts and 26,000 lumens. Right below that is the DSX2. It's using more watts, and it has lower lumens coming out of that. So the efficacy is not only a triumph with the Detroit series, but the distribution pattern between the two is pretty dramatic. I'm very happy to be able to this tool in the arsenal to go through any type of outdoor lighting with this parking lot or elsewhere and get the that we need all the way through. And then, of course, on the right side, the big guns, we're looking at 45,000 lumens, which is a pretty good amount of torque when you need a lot of area to be illuminated all the way across. And again, you can see that whether these are type 3s or type 4s with the Detroit series, that forward push, the wide distribution, and a lack of concentration of a hotspot underneath all the way across is actually a very excellent approach for how we're doing the distribution types.
Thanks, Michael. Backing up here for just a second, I just wanted to show you that the actual product is available. This cut sheets and IES files are now online. I know for the large area light, for the small area light, they should be up probably by tomorrow. But they're available in 3000K, 4000K, 5000K, and also 2700K, 70 CRI, 80 CRI, or 90 CRI. Why would you ask, 90 CRI outside, why would you do that? Well, there is some federal regulations out there that require 90 CRI for outdoor lighting. And then also too, there's been some architects that have been designing like downtown streetscapes in 90 CRI so that they're getting a real punch onto the businesses down there that have storefront displays. So going forward then again, looking at the small area light, well, we do think that this is going to be, out of every 11 lights, this will be 10 of them because it goes from 30 watts to 160 watts and lumen output from 4,600 all the way up to 23,000. And so, and to really put, that in perspective, what it can do, I'm going to jump here and let Michael take over again.
Here's another comparison that we've got. We're looking at 160 watt type 4 and 125 watt type 5. So the different types of the most common application for distributions. And we're stacking those up against the Galleon and again, the DSX2. And what I want to focus here on the bottom is that the distribution we're using for the type 5 is very effective at pushing the light away from the pole in each direction all the way around. You can see with the other two, the concentration of the iso-luminance curve really shows a hot spot at the bottom of the pole. What we're effectively seeing is a nadir dump where the majority of the light is going down and then the periphery kind of spills out. Whereas you see less of that, the light levels in the pattern from the 125 watt type 5 are really much more smooth all the way across. We're more effective at getting the light to the corners and not so much under that nadir dump as well. So that's an excellent application to take the type 5, light up a single area with a pole and have a good distribution across. At the top, we're looking at type 4s, similar type of wattage and output for all of these. You can see that certainly the efficacy that we've got at 160 watts and 21,000 lumens is running a tight ship, but the distribution pattern, just at a quick glance, you can see that we get great coverage all the way through in a similar type of area back, 430 feet. That type of coverage all the way through. We don't have to worry about dark spots in between the poles, in between the distribution patterns. So as we're coming forward to new projects, and if we're going to be speccing something out or doing a simple replacement, it's great to be able to have this type of tool to come through and do a great blanket illumination all the way across.
And this is a good, to emphasize that we're doing all of this at 127 watts, 17,000 lumens, versus their 166 watts, 19,500 lumens, and 140 watts, 19,600 lumens. It's not as many, it's not about how many lumens you have, it's not about the lumens per watt, it's what you do with the lumens that you're producing and at what wattage. So the two combined, the uniformity and the wattage being used is really trumps the LPW and or the total lumen output. So just wanted to note that. Michael, here's the view again.
Now, one final thing that we have too, as far as taking into consideration for designing a project when we're running a photometric analysis, is that not only are we going to light up the project we have to take into account what's in the surrounding area. For example, if we have a parking lot and it's next door to an adjacent residence, well, first and foremost, we have to make sure that everything is taken into account and that if we are doing a great job of illuminating the parking lot, We have our distribution patterns down, uniformity, but if there's a lot of spillover into that residence next door, well, then that's not a successful project. So what we do have an option is the Backlight Guard shield. And this is a very simple design. It's elegant in that it can just be placed on and it mitigates that backlight. It doesn't actually interact with the forward amount of light going through, getting it away from the perimeter into the lot itself. But the spillover that would be coming backwards just from general physics of the placement of the optics, the simple Backlight Guard can really mitigate those candela values coming backwards and have a big impact on making sure that throughout the entire area, we've got a successful project.
That's correct. And we emphasize what Michael just said, and that is that we're able to do backlight glare control with, type 2, 3, 4, 5, and narrow, and using a color-coded backlight glare that's the same color as the actual fixture. We don't want a spectral material on that because then it would actually degrade the actual spread of the, causing backscatter to interfere with the actual spread of the lenses and what we're trying to achieve. So the whole goal there is just to knock down all lighting that's going out the back and the very ends of the sides. So that's why we did it, so that you can do it with, you don't have to compromise the design of the layout. Nor do you have to settle for an optic that's been painted and the back side of it, or designed, but only one optic is only backlight controlled, and everything else is standard. So, so that kind of wraps up the two area lights and the full cutoff light. I'd like to jump in a little bit more now into our full forward throw Detroit series area light wall packs. Now these two fixtures came out about 6-7 months ago, but we've also made some enhancements recently that we want to talk about. So real quickly, want to go through the actual original design, and you can see again that we've casted our name into the front there. This design up here is a bold, kind of a pickup hood look, if you will, but it's a bold masculine bone lines on top. Looking at the side, we have a very small footprint as far as, how far we stick out, but we still have a lot of room inside to be able to add battery backup, occupancy sensing, and photo control. So breaking this apart, what you're seeing here, first off, is a lens that's got a 20-year warranty against yellowing from Lexolite. We tooled this with them to be as a nice, uniform, farthest throw, forward throw product that we could put on the market today. And then actually this lens gets sucked in, by these screws. So we put brass inserts in here due to freeze thaw and some other reasons, as far as torque goes, to make sure that we don't spider crack the lens, not only today, but 10 years from now. Also, we had installed here for DLC purposes, these are LZAC reflectors. Now what those LZAC reflectors allow us to do is put minimal light that goes above 90 degrees, and it keeps the 80 to 90 degree spread below 10% of the total light output. So then most of it is 80 degrees and less and down, so that you really are doing a nice job of keeping up light from going out and then still throwing the light out. But we also created a new HE2 max light output by eliminating these reflectors. We've been able to drop the price $20 and get max output using just the great, prismatic lens, and getting a great forward throw with a higher lumen output. You can also see here too that we've used, again, our poured-in gasket, and that's what seals in this lens. And so that keeps the LED array dry throughout the whole process. And then looking at the back, we use another poured-in gasket on the back side so that the electricals close up and stay there. Again, you see our standard 40 kV surge suppression extreme rated, our programmable advanced Philips driver, and then there is also room in there for battery backup, photo control, and occupancy sensing as well. We've made allotment for all of that. So, bringing that together, I want to show you some of the new advancements, but, some of our advertising that you're going to be seeing coming out is the fact that we're inspired, designed, engineered, cast, injection mold, built and delivered in the United States. So this whole process starts in Muskegon, Michigan, 200 miles away, not a half a world away. And we pour the aluminum into the casts. Then we bring them close to here to Farmington Hills. We have them painted, then gasketed. Then we marry up the LED boards that we're having made locally along with populating the LEDs. We marry it all together here in Farmington Hills to give you probably the most USA contented LED fixture that's on the market today. To tell you about some of the efficiency upgrades to the wall pack line, I want to jump here. This is our Lumecon Detroit Series Forward Throw Mini. Now it's really not a mini, and here's what I mean by that. And that is that we have the DLC qualified. We added a 35 watt version at 4,400 lumens. We also have a 35 watt version in our HE2 max output, best lumen per dollar. So this is actually less expensive than the DLC version, probably less than the rebate you're going to get if you use DLC. And you're going to get 35 watts up to 4,700 lumens. And then we have our value line, our Detroit Series regular lowest price, lowest lumen output line, to try to compete on some lower price ranges. But looking at this is probably the best dollar value for the dollar. And we also want to say to you that if you're replacing a 175 watt metal halide or you're designing a 175 watt metal halide type forward throw, that this fixture here is the one that you want to use. Even though it's a smaller footprint, it still puts out nearly 5,000 lumens and gives you a great spread. And it's also very cost effective. That compared up to our Lumecon Detroit Series Forward Throw regular size one, you can see that, again, we have a DLC version and an HE2 max output version, and then our regular version. But I do want to point out that you probably don't need to, essentially in the small housing, you can get to 4,700 lumens at 35 watts. You don't really need this fixture in 25 or 35 watts. I'd start using it at 45 watts up to 80 watts, and you're getting 10,400 lumens out of it, 10,500 lumens. So that becomes very cost effective when you're up in this range. So again, using the smaller one at the 25 and 35 watt range and down, and then using this one between 45 and 80 watts. So bringing this all together, you can see our design. We're putting the LED array right onto the casting, bonding it to it so that we're getting the maximum thermal dissipation. We still are using very expensive ceramic based epoxy slurry LEDs that are the best in the market today. And because we're using those LEDs, those are 60-cent LEDs versus a 0.6 cent LED that many of the very inexpensive wall packs and area lights are using. Those LEDs are not going to last very long. It's not that they're going to burn out typically, but they will lose their light output dramatically, especially in freeze-thaw cycles over a very short period of time. So we believe in our enhanced thermal design system from beginning to end, LED die all the way out to make sure that we're dissipating the heat. And we can rate ourselves at 100,000 hours, but really and truly our lifespan is much longer than that. Again, we're using tier 1 componentry only. So LEDs are using Nichia, Cree, Samsung, Osram. In fact, our area lights, we've set it up so that we can use any of the 4 in case there's a shortage on any of these components. Our goal is to have the shortest supply chain in the business so that, again, our supply chain doesn't go more than really 200 miles away. And so that we're not waiting in containers, we're not waiting on big boats, or, in case there's civil unrest and or pandemic, that we can still deliver our product. We're using Phillips Thomas Research, Meanwell drivers and Mintronics, Wago connectors instead of speaker wire caps. Our photocells are solid state intermatic, occupancy sensor and a watt stopper Legrand, and surge protection little fuse. So again, all tier 1 componentry. so that, we're not using substandard parts. So voltage irregularity is definitely a big part of about 75%, I think was the stat that was given at the last light fair of why LED products fail. And so about 3.5 years ago, we started to put in a 40 kV extreme surge protection metal oxide varistor in order to combat dirty power and irregular voltage, whether it's the HVAC kicking on and sending down a bit of a spike or a lightning strike, or just a grid that's really running rough. Our 40 kV extreme rated multi-strike surge protection is self-modulating, thermally designed metal oxide varistor. And it is, again, our little black box, if you will, like an airplane has, that can tell us what goes wrong inside of a fixture if there's any kind of a surge event. So all of this together allows us to meet every Buy American Act certification, along with our small business certification. That's how we've been able to win so many federal jobs around the country and municipal jobs around the country, because we're meeting the Buy American Act level 2 and in some cases level 3. There's a lot more people out there also. We've heard from you, our agencies, we've heard from end users, that end users now and contractors and even distributors are starting to ask for made in America product. And it's not always the cheapest is best. And so we wanted to let you know that we qualify for all of these, not only to try to meet some kind of a standard, but also it's what we believe in. So wrapping that up, that is the Detroit Series line. Again, we're inspired, designed, engineered, cast, injection molded, built, delivered, all right here in the United States. We appreciate your time. Thank you for stopping by for us today. And we'll definitely see you down the road. Michael, if you want to say thanks.
Thanks everyone for taking the time today.
Appreciate it. Take care and good luck to everybody.